Hello, it's another migraine video. I've been having migraines monthly, if not weekly, for the last like 7 years, 8 years, I don't even know. So you'd think by now I would recognize when I have one, but I'm always kind of like, well, my head hurts, but I don't have I'm not getting chills. I don't seem to be any more light sensitive than usual. It's not too bad. It's probably fine. Look at my roll of toilet paper there. Oh my god, my my nightstand is so. Anyway, yeah. So pretty sure this is a migraine. Just not quite in full swing yet, and I'm a little stoned, as I have been pretty much every day for the past 2 weeks or so. 3 weeks? I don't know. I managed to do I'm mostly rubbing my head because my eyes feel weird. I managed to do 3 1/3 hours of work today, which for me is a decent day's work, nothing to sneeze at. And especially given the fact that it wasn't the only thing I did today. I actually had a psychiatry intake appointment, I don't know what you call it, where somebody, in my case, it was a therapist, social worker, asks you a bunch of questions to try to get an idea of what psychiatric problem you might have, I guess, so that they can figure out who to refer you to. I think it helped a lot that I went in, with the goal of getting a referral for an assessment, because normally I would just sort of let them buffet me around and be like, well, the experts know, they'll figure it out. And at this point, having seen enough experts over enough years, I'm kind of like, they know some stuff, but they can't. They're not going to know you better than you know you, so, you might be wrong about your self-diagnosis, but it's important to at least assert yourself, I think, when dealing with them, to make sure you get an answer that's satisfactory to you. So yeah, and I'd done a lot of preparation. I wrote out, I wrote it on a spreadsheet, but it was not organized at all. I never got around to that. But I wrote out a bunch of different symptoms and experiences that I don't know, I might go over them once I actually do this assessment thing, but I don't know. Let me know if you want me to do a video where I just go down that whole fucking long list. I feel like it might not be interesting at all, or interesting until I find out one way or another with some relative certainty that I'm autistic or neurotypical or whatever. Anyway. Oh god, that's disorienting. Yeah, so I went over some stuff. Definitely didn't touch the tip of the iceberg of all of the stuff I documented, but most of what I documented was closer to common traits that people on the spectrum report that aren't necessarily part of the diagnostic criteria, or things that I've come across random studies about, that sort of thing. I guess relatively early on, I would say within the first maybe 15 minutes of the conversation, she pretty much was like, it seemed like they generally don't refer people for autism assessments, which was no surprise to me because, it's notoriously difficult for any adults to get an assessment, much less a diagnosis. And I mean, from what I hear, it's especially hard for women to get referred because they tend to be, I don't know, they tend to present as more neurotypical. Then she asked me kind of essentially what the point of getting a diagnosis would be, versus treating symptoms. And I was surprised by how articulately at the time I was able to basically tell her, well, either I'm processing information differently, in which case the treatments might be one thing, or I'm reacting to information differently, in which case it might be something else. So my therapist keeps saying that the treatments, or the therapeutic treatments, I guess, for autism and anxiety are pretty much the same, CBT or whatever. But so socializing, if my perceived difficulties with socializing and forming close friendships and just my general confusion in especially workspace type of interactions, and social interactions with shall we say normies, because all my friends are sufficiently odd that it's not as bad with them. But if all of that was the result of anxiety, then I would have to just keep doing it, even though I've been doing it pretty aggressively for the last, how old am I? Okay, so for the last like 12 or 13 years, I'd say. I found a journal entry from when I was 18 where I basically was like, I'm gonna do self-improvement, except I phrased it as like, I'm gonna pull a Gatsby and I'm gonna make myself better, and the first thing I'm gonna do is become sociable. So I guess I've been like aggressively socializing for the past like 12 or 13 years. All that social practice has gotten me to a point where I can pretty reliably get people to like me, I think. And I've had people tell me that I'm like very friendly and that type of thing, which the first time I heard this was like just fucking stunning. I can even, like I can have a good time with strangers and stuff like that. I've gotten more socially skilled. I don't think I've gotten more socially comfortable, or if I have, it's not by much. It still tends to be really draining and stressful. So if it's an anxiety thing, I would expect, given the types of socializing that I've done, that I would have kind of hacked that problem by now. But if it's autism, then it makes a lot more sense, because it's not that I'm anxious about going into the interaction because it's an interaction. It's more like, well, I never really get, I don't feel like I don't get what's going on necessarily, but I feel like somebody else is setting the rules and I just have to figure out who it is, but I don't necessarily always know what the rules are. And I have to be careful not to like break them, even if they don't exist. And there's also like it's just really physically draining, usually. I don't know, I'm rambling. I feel like shit. Anyway, my whole point is, I don't know, I'm sure there are probably better examples, probably lots of examples of ways that like your approach might be different if it's a processing thing versus like an emotional thing. I don't know. I guess maybe they're all processing things. I don't know. Nobody understands the brain. Partway through, she actually was like, some of what you're talking about sounds like ADHD. So she started asking me, sorry, I keep shifting hands because it hurts. So she started asking me questions pertaining to ADHD, and I guess she got a lot of yeses out of me, because by the end of this entire thing, she basically said she thinks it would be worth getting diagnostic clarity because it sounds like I have a lot of ADHD traits and a lot of autistic traits. Honestly, I feel like I would be happy to be diagnosed with either of those, because autism would explain a lot more, but like, I guess any potential avenue that might help me manage my like anxiety and fatigue and migraines. Yeah. Because all the normal shit has not helped at all, really, except weed a little bit sometimes. I just discovered these things called, I guess the brand is Can. Oh my god, they have a hilarious label on them about how like we have to put a label on here to tell you how to drink this, because the government, you open it and then you drink it. Those are the instructions. Anyway, they're great and they have really delicious flavors, but it gives me like the most soothing high I've ever experienced, and it's not like too high and it's not too aggressive, so that's been like the best thing that I've found for my migraines so far, which is still not saying much. Anyway, so it sounds like I've been referred to get an autism assessment, or at least to get whatever the next step is before the autism assessment. But I've made it through round one, which, anyway, yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I don't probably seem that stoked now, but like after the, there's a plane or a helicopter. After the appointment, I like ran out into the living room and started like hopping around like a little weirdo, to tell my boyfriend. While I was telling my boyfriend, he was like working and like not happy about working and just having a rough day, and I'm just like, hey, guess who got referred? Oh, I'm not in that voice, although I would absolutely totally do that too. So yeah, so she did say it's gonna take a while. She was like, this is a big organization, which I'm pretty sure just meant like, this is a massive bureaucracy. And then also, by the way, there's still a pandemic on, so yeah, it may take a while, but she said she'll be in contact with me at some point in the future. So hopefully I'll have an appointment lined up within the next decade.